There it is. Well, that's some mixed signals right here. Historic sign over there. No trespassing sign over here. Hey everybody, you're watching Sidestep Adventures. It's Robert. I'm out here with Cody. Today we're in Fortson, Georgia, which is now a part of Columbus, Georgia. Fortson started out as a little community, but then when the city and county consolidated, it became part of Columbus, and now it's just a little crossroads. So we're going to take a look at what's left. In fact, right now we're standing in the middle of the old general store. So let's get to it right now. All right, so we're walking up to the old general store, or what's left of it right now. And one thing that's kind of interesting is this old sidewalk, or whatever you'd call it. Oh, look at all the fire ants. You don't want to step in that. Anyway, what's interesting is the old sidewalk out here. So let's take a look at this historic marker real quick and learn a little bit about where we're at. First of all, we'll show you some pictures. That's the general store before demolition in 2006. And there's James Fortson pumping gas in the late 1940s. And then this picture is Luther Getson Fortson in front of his store, the store that we're at, back in the 1950s. It's hard to imagine that that store is now this little field. Here we have Thomas Willis Fortson and Sons, Luther Getson and Mark Ernest in 1905. All right, so let's read the marker. An 1884 Georgia map shows this area was once called Blanchard's Crossing. It was a stop on a narrow gauge railway that ran to Kingsboro, Georgia, just beyond Catala. When the Central of Georgia Railroad was built in the late 1800s, a station was constructed on the west side of Fortson Road, with Thomas Willis Fortson named a station agent. Now, that's kind of interesting because we're actually on the west side of Fortson Road right now. So I wonder exactly where the station was. Obviously you can see the railroad tracks, and I'm sure that's the same line that's been here since then, but I wonder what part, or if there are any remains of the station or anything out here, or maybe it was right here or something like that. But that's all up to imagination, it seems, at this point, although I'm sure exact details could be found. I just don't have them readily available. All right, so near the station was also a general store run by the Fortson family. Originally located across the road from the railroad station, it was built of wood and burned in the early 1900s. So it was originally over there, or over there, or maybe even over there, I'm not sure which. Following the fire, a brick general store was constructed on the west side of Fortson Road, and it also contained the Fortson, Georgia post office. Thomas Willis Fortson, son of Thomas Daniel Fortson, who built the Fortson house, served as postmaster, station agent, and ran the store. Later, these duties were assumed by his son, Luther Getson Fortson. The general store and the post office were a central part of the Fortson community. It was a meeting place for the locals to stop and tell stories. With the death of Getson in 1963, the store was closed and the post office was moved several miles down Fortson Road to an area known as Nankapu, which is interesting. Nankapu is another little community that used to be around here that's also gone for the most part. The structure remained vacant for several decades. In 2015, a collaborative effort between the Columbus Quarry, Historic Columbus, and Dr. and Mrs. Mark R. Fortson was established to clean the site of the general store, secure the remains of the building, and create an interpretive area to tell the story. All right, so now let's talk a little bit about this. So when I first saw this last week, I didn't know this was here. And this is another one of those things of you don't know what's in your backyard until you go out and start searching. But I thought this was really cool use for this old foundation. And then I talked to a friend of mine that lives out here who told me that they actually tore the store down to build this area. And I thought that was, I wish they had found a way to leave the building intact, you know? It's always seems to be that people are more eager to tear down places like this rather than preserve them standing. I don't know the reasons for tearing the store down, but I don't know if it was in such bad shape by that time that it had to be torn down, but that's not the impression I got. I wonder if that was old lumber from the store, or that could be cross ties from the railroad. But I have to admit, even though they did not save the store in its intact form, this is a nice little area. Many times I get people commenting on various places and that I film. Look at that. I guess that's a ground wire. Maybe something like that. But I get a lot of people commenting on these places and old historic sites that I film and saying that I need to contact a historic society or something that would hopefully preserve these places. But and I've done that before. I've actually done that with several old places, and as much as I hate to say it, all of the times that I've contacted somebody about historic places or places that I thought were historically significant, nothing's ever come of it. And oftentimes, at least in this area, I found that history is not preserved unless there is a way to profit off of it. And that this is kind of an example of something like this. Like a historic society stepped in, and now there's a sign and not even what's left of a building, foundation of a building. So I want to kind of take a look in the woods back here. You got some grass clippings right there. I don't want to venture too far off the road, but I figured we'd take a look and see. There's old shingles. Could have come from the store. So to continue what I was saying, so after numerous times of contacting historical societies and that sort of thing, I just stepped back from that because it never actually comes to anything, or there's never any benefit to it. And so just so y'all know, I have taken steps like that in the past. Even several cemeteries that I thought were in danger and needed to be saved, and I thought historical societies would be interested, no one was ever actually interested in it. The Samantha Street Cemetery, which is another video and one that I often talk about, is a good example of that. That is an old slave cemetery, and it was one that I brought to numerous people's attention because it's in danger of not just being forgotten, but actually being destroyed. And I brought it to numerous people's attention, and no one was really interested in it, which is a shame to say. And the reason, it turns out that like I said earlier, unless there's some big financial gain to be made off of these historic places, many times the historic societies don't care. But now I'm just kind of rambling, but I'm telling you my story and experience with this and answering some of the comments I get over and over again. Because I too would love to save all of these places, and I do take efforts to save places that I see that are in danger, but in the end that's a lot easier said than done. And so I do it in the best way that I can, filming the places and documenting them that way. So look at these huge beams right here. I guess this is all part of the railroad. I was kind of walking back here to see if I saw any foundation that may have been the old train station. And for all I know, that could have been, but those look like railroad ties. And other than trash, modern trash and tires. I'm not seeing too much else. All right, so let's take a look at some other areas of Fortson.
So we have this beautiful old 1800s home, but this is private property, so we can only really shoot from the road, but it is gorgeous. And it's got this expansive front lawn, and what used to be a very nice country area is now at a, as you can see, an intersection, and a very busy intersection. Off in one direction there's clearly terraced land, and this was probably a sizable farm at one point. Now it's a country home in the suburbs, I guess, the outskirts of town. But let's have a look. And there's a really neat old stone structure out in front of the house. I don't know if it was originally part of the house or another structure involved, or if it was just for decor, but it's made of field stone, and it's just a really nice addition to the house. Don't know anything about it, and it is, you know, it's off limits. We can't get to it, so I could only shoot it from the road. But it's really nice, and it's really nice to see these historic structures still standing. I realized upon further inspection that the rock structures out in front of the large house are terracing, because the land's so uneven around here. They terraced it to flatten it out for their agricultural use or homestead use. Here you can get a closer look at the terracing. Over here we've got another old house that was once part of this community of Fortson. I'll show it to you right now. Now I don't know who lives here or if they live here, but this is very pretty old homestead. These old houses from the 1800s had such wonderful craftsmanship and style. And today houses are built, and sometimes they try to add a little bit, just a flavor of that style, but it's really lacking in today's architecture.
I'm guessing this is where the pump would have been. Yeah, I guess so. I was kind of trying to figure out where the gas pump was in relation to the building, and that looks like either a well or a gas pump, so I'm assuming there's a gas pump here, and the store is right over there. Let's go look at the picture again. Amazing to see that. I'm sure that was it right there, and look at the same road. So let's look at this picture and then kind of try to get the same view from where that picture was taken, which it looks like it was about right here. So kind of interesting to see how much it's changed. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video, seeing this area, seeing forts in Georgia from both my perspective and Brian's perspective. And I hope I didn't ramble too much for you guys today. I still think this is a pretty cool area. I wish they'd done a little bit better job of preserving the store, but what it is still pretty nice. And before I go, let me tell you, I had some people ask me about a Patreon page, and I made a community post about it the other day. I do have a Patreon page set up, but due to my own personal time constraints, I probably would not be able to offer what a lot of creators do, like videos early and extra content, all that sort of thing. So I've only got two tiers set up on Patreon right now. One is a $5 tier and the other is like $25 tier. The $5 tier, I add your name as a supporter of Sidestep Adventures in the credit roll, and the $25 tier is geared towards other creators. It gives you a space on my channel in the featured pages of the Sidestep Adventure channel. So if you'd like to support Sidestep Adventures, there is a link to Patreon. If not, just keep watching the videos. We'll see you next time.